This is the soy braised duck breast with the squash puree. To explain this dish, I'm going to break it down into components. The pickled onions, squash puree, braised duck, and some crushed nuts for garnish. Pickled red onions are one of my favorite garnishes. The way the hot vinegar reacts with the red just turns into this beautiful pink. It's one of my favorite garnishes to use on many different dishes. How I like to do this is I cut it about a centimeter length against the fiber, then I break it apart. The reason why I break it apart is because the hot vinegar cook is going to be a lot more consistent with smaller pieces. For the pickling liquid, I like to do a 2-2-1 of vinegar, water, and sugar. What that means is it's 2 parts vinegar, 2 parts water, 1 part sugar. Oh, my apologies, rice vinegar. The only thing you really need to watch out for when you do this part is when you put the sugar in, you want to mix it well. Why? Is because if you don't mix it and you try to crank the heat on, I have seen the sugar just completely burn the bottom of the pot. It's a nightmare to clean, so you just want to make sure you don't do that. After the vinegar mixture has come to a boil, let's go ahead and pour that on top of the onions. That's in a mason jar. I like to put it in a mason jar or something that's metal because it helps hold the heat and cook the onions a lot more consistently as well. This is fast forwarded, so you're going to be able to see kind of the color change real quick. I think this is about 10 to 15 minutes in. It can cook a little bit longer, but you can already see the color difference, which is really pretty. Up next is going to be the squash puree with white miso. I use Saikyo white miso because it has a little bit more of a rounded out sweetness compared to your regular miso. To make the puree, what I'm going to do is cut it into smaller pieces, then peel it. I could totally use the peeler, not a knife that I haven't sharpened. Definitely sharpen my knife before I do videos like these as well. After it's peeled, we're going to take the seeds out. We can use these seeds, but I'm going to save it for another video. Next step is going to be dicing the squashes up. Why I like to dice them up, the cook on them is going to be a lot more quicker and consistent. I'm going to cook it in water today, but you can use stock or you can roast them beforehand. I personally like to just do hot water because I feel like it showcases the flavor of the miso and the fat really well, and it balances out nicely. Like you can see, I like to use chopsticks or skewers to see if they're fully cooked through. And once they are, we're going to go ahead and strain them. Let them sit for a second because you want that moisture to evaporate. While it's hot, we're going to grab the Vitamix, get it ready. Inside of here, you can't really see what I'm doing, but I added the duck fat and miso. It's just a tiny little bit. There's enough sodium in the miso as well, but you are more than welcome to adjust it with fish sauce or salt, soy sauce, whatever your liking is. Sake, mirin, soy sauce, sugar, and aromatics. These are the things that go into the duck braise. What I start out with is a 1-to-1 ratio of sake and mirin. I'm going to go ahead and bring that to a boil and cook the alcohol out. Why I cook the alcohol out first is because when you add the soy sauce, the sugar, it just doesn't cook out as well. You want to bring it to a boil, torch it up, watch that flame, and wait till that flame goes away, and add your sugar and soy sauce. Alright, it's time for the duck. What everyone's been waiting for. Well, maybe. Anyways, I like to make sure my saute pan is beaming hot when I put my duck in from the skin side. Really let that fat render out from the skin. That fat's important to have in the saute pan because it's going to help cook the meat consistently. You want to keep rendering more of the fat out from the skin side as well. Why? Is because we're going to use that fat for the puree. Yes, I actually did the duck part before the puree, but I'm showing the puree beforehand. Confusing, huh? Gotcha. Nice color on the skin. We're going to go ahead and drop that in our braising liquid. Skin side down. Yes, as you can see, there's already some aromatics in there, and I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. At this point, I kind of brought the temperature a little bit too high, so I'm going to take it out quickly because one thing I don't want to do is cook it at a high heat when that protein structure isn't set yet, because that's how you're gonna get that dry texture really quick. I let it rest for a minute or so and put it back in at a lower temperature. Flipping it around, I'm still focusing on cooking that skin side. Why I want to keep cooking that skin side in that braising liquid is because the skin ends up becoming chewy, so you can score it, but I'd rather just cook it through a little bit more. And that's about 14 minutes right there. This is how the duck came out, nice and juicy. You can see that soy sauce on the outside. Alright, now getting into plating. A little bit of squash puree down on the plate. I'm going to use a blue plate so that yellow really pops. Next, gently place the duck right next to the puree. Alright, now it's time for the garnishes. I'm going to go ahead and put the crushed nuts kind of on two sides, add a little bit of texture on the plate, place my pickled red onions on top, and call it a day. What do you guys think? This is the soy braised duck breast. I hope you guys liked it, and thanks for watching till then.